Wah, ha, 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 ha.
Bleh.
Bleh. I want to suck your blood.
I want to read you a story.
I want to listen to your story.
I want to make a podcast with my friend.
Wah, ha, 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 ha. One. One.
Two.
One podcast. Wah, 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 wah. Hello and welcome to We Found a Book.
Please don't tell me that's how we're going to
This
start
is the start of the podcast.
Oh, God, no.
Don't feel embarrassed. I'm slowly slipping into a different accent.
You're going from, from vampire to French.
From Transylvanian. I felt like it was going in a more Turkish direction, personally.
Maybe I'm just not cultured.
All right, I'm Austin.
I am Ben.
And this is We Found a Book, the podcast where we discuss the stories in the strange book of fairy tales that we found in Grandpa Jeremy's attic. Ben, how's it going?
I am doing much better than I have been in the past couple of days.
Okay.
That's really...
Why were you doing so poorly in the last couple of days?
Well, you see, I was having a bout with my family about...
About a bout?
No, you see, the issue is we're having company over this coming weekend, and I'm not going to be in the house. And because of that, my parents were saying that I had to do a few things before this Friday, which is tomorrow. And I still have not done them, and they were very disappointed in me. And I told them, Mom, Dad, you've been living with me for 20 plus years now. If you don't expect this to be done by the very last minute...
If you don't expect disappointment yet, I don't know what you expect.
Right. I mean, you know who I am, right? Like, this is me.
I'm Ben.
I'm Ben. I've been around a while. I've been procrastinating in my duties for quite some time, and I've been discussing these issues with you for quite some time, and I expect you to understand that if I'm not going to grab my laundry off of the kitchen table just because it's folded and pressed, and that's where we keep our laundry that's clean, is on the kitchen table. We actually don't eat on the kitchen table. We eat in our dining room. And the kitchen table is left for things such as laundry and...
Ben abridged version. Nobody cares about your kitchen table.
They don't, do they?
You talked a long time about your kitchen table.
This is not an appealing subject. Let's just start over. Hi.
No, we're not starting over.
Hi.
We're not starting over.
I'm starting over.
No.
I'm starting over.
No, the intro was too good. Ben, why is this? Ben, why, who are you? You're having company over for the whole weekend?
No, just my parents' silly, creepy friends.
Oh, for the night?
Just for like a dinner party.
Oh, okay.
Like, no, we need to have the house clean.
Are they going to play Yahtzee?
No, we're just going to get drunk.
Nice.
I'm not going to hide it.
Can
That's
I
what
go?
Parents do. Do you want to go over?
Will they invite me?
It's like extend an invitation.
Yeah, text your mom.
Phone's over there.
Can I have your mom's number?
No.
Okay.
Get out of here. Only if I can have your mom's.
You can.
Okay. All right, fine. We'll swap.
So, Ben, why is today a special episode?
Today's a special episode because we're celebrating one of our favorite holidays. This is a...
Kwanzaa.
Yes, we're actually celebrating the oh my god, I want to say Jewish.
Kwanzaa?
Yes.
No, it's like
not.
it's like
South
African.
African.
It's like African heritage.
Yeah, I want to because I think it's Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
We're celebrating. All right, let's cut it over here. We're celebrating Kwanzaa, as we all know, is one of the scariest holidays of the season, with a terrifying story that has roots that we believe that go back to ancient Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa-corpianin.
Kwanzaa-corpia. This is just bad.
This is terrible.
But this is our Halloween episode.
Yes.
It's a very special episode because Halloween is a very special day where people go out and they harass their neighbors for candy. I'm in the precarious situation where I am too old to go out.
Oh, I'm still going.
And trick or treat. I trick or treated when I was 19. No. Yeah. No. 18 was the last year I trick or treated, and it was awkward. And I didn't do it for very long. and we all agreed. Well, we both agreed that it was an awkward thing, and people were looking at us weird, and so we went home.
See, the sad thing about my predicament is that the last time I trick or treated before this year is going to be was about 5 years ago, and the
Did you say before this year? Are you going this year?
Yes,
Like,
but the big issue that I have with my Halloween history is that the last time I went, I did not have a great costume, and I looked like one of those jerky teens that just kind of goes with their friends and just like expects candy.
would you wear like a hoodie?
No, even worse. I just found a jersey.
Mask?
I just
A
found
jersey?
Just an old
Oh, God.
an old sports jersey, and I put it on. I put some crappy black lines under my eyes. I'm like, I'm a fan. Give me some candy. And looking back at it now, that was the worst way to say goodbye to that kind of thing. So I'm
That's
going
sad.
again.
Oh, that's really nice, actually.
I am giving it a second shot.
I like that.
I have a wonderful costume picked out, and I'm also going with a bag full of pranks. Eggs, toilet paper, scorpions, rat tails, pig ears,
Cat tails.
cat eyes,
Bat tails.
bat feces, fireworks,
Frat tails. Written in a
little
book.
bit of cocaine,
Oh.
some PVC pipe,
So you've been...
a potato, some carbon, or CO2.
Ben's forward head is scrunched in concentration, trying to...
A few melted crayons.
Oh,
I already melted them.
okay.
They're
They're
I need to be remelted.
melted on everything else.
But anyway, looking forward to
Ben,
some
I
delicious candy.
thought you were going to say a bag of treats to give to people.
No.
Like reverse Halloween.
No.
What are you going as?
I can't tell you. Just because if I were to say this right now and then the authorities knew what to look out for.
Oh. So, do you think this is a good way to say goodbye to Halloween?
Oh, on the podcast?
No, just this plan, because you said...
Sure. I mean, I have 5, 6 good years to catch up on?
Yeah,
I gotta make this one count.
that's true.
Because, if this is successful, I'm coming back next year.
If this works out for me. If I am not imprisoned,
Yeah.
I am coming out next year.
The 20-something-year-old trick-or-treater.
And this is why we're recording before, because we knew that Ben
We do.
might be in prison come Halloween.
I want if all goes south and I am forced to relocate to either prison or to just be going on the run.
Forced to relocate to prison.
Forced to relocate on my own whim. Forced to relocate to prison.
Yeah.
I want there to be just a warning or just a message.
Something left behind.
A public service announcement on the podcast before it starts, being like, "This is going to be our last podcast. Ben has been detained." Yeah. And then enjoy the show. And then
Yeah, so if that does happen, I'll attach an announcement to the end of this podcast later on when I'm not in prison, because I did not go out. I won't even call it trick-or-treating. You're tricking. You're going out tricking.
Oh, I'm still gonna get candy.
No, you're not. No one's going to give you candy
They
unless
will.
you take it from people. You're sick. You're sick. Oh, God. Don't look at me like that. Okay, Ben, that's actually a good segue into our story,
Yeah,
because the main character is quite the prankster.
I'm excited. I haven't actually read through this story yet. You said you found one that you really liked, and I asked if I could see it, and when I reached for the book, you snapped my fingers in it.
Yeah.
Still suffering from multiple paper cuts, so
Well, Ben.
this better be worth it. Dick.
Excuse you. A reaching hand gets nothing. It's an old Chinese proverb.
I don't think it is.
Look it up. In a fortune cookie.
It has to be in a fortune cookie.
Look through some fortune cookies.
All right,
You
enough.
will
enough.
find it. Enough
with
tomfoolery.
Enough with these shenanigans. I want to hear a good story.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
All right, well, it's our Halloween episode. We're very excited. I picked out a Halloween story. I didn't let Ben read it because I thought it's more fun this way, because he has a more natural reaction.
Yes.
Ready?
I am.
Ben, do you know how this works?
I've been doing it this far. Been doing well this far.
I've been doing it this far.
I've been doing.
Would you like to
so well.
explain how it works, Ben?
Sure. So what's going to happen right now is that Austin's going to narrate a story that he picked out specially for me, not for you guys.
Yeah, you guys don't matter. You guys are an audience.
This is for me
at this point.
And you guys can just, sit back and enjoy the ride for the most part.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Let's not use the term guys.
Folks.
I feel like it's rude, sexist, and mean.
Hey, I'm just over here trying to be casual, enjoy my time.
All right.
But anyway, I'm going to listen to the story whenever I have any kind of reason to, interject. I'm able to do so at any time.
All right.
So I'm gonna give the mic over to Austin right now, and
we both have our own mics.
I'm metaphorically passing over the mic to Austin.
Passing the metaphorical mic. Okay. When I'm done reading the story, I'll drop the metaphorical mic.
Oh.
All right. Well, this story is called The Gilded Seed.
Ooh.
Right?
It's a solid title.
Shiny.
Very. I already have the image in my head.
Do you? What does it look like?
It's like a sparkling sunflower seed.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's like
is it just like the shiny black and white colors that usually makes up a sun? Well, do you imagine it in the shell or out of the shell?
In the shell.
Okay, me too. That's how I imagined it when you said it. So, is it like the normal black and like tan?
No, it's like gold.
It's a gold.
It's like a gold and a dark silver where the black is supposed to be.
Ooh. I would put that on my shelf and look at it.
Lick it, because it's probably still salty.
A deep breath. The desires come out with the breath. The air leaves your body. You focus on the story. Okay.
Let's get started.
Now I'm ready.
No. After that slightly sexual yawn or sigh.
When Flemmy Jack was only a teetering tot who had just recently learned to walk, he attended his very first pumpkin harvest festival. His parents guided him to the event, each grasping one of his hands to assure that they wouldn't lose him in the rejoicing crowd. Wandering around that day, his parents showed him all that the festival had to offer. They saw all of the greatest racers from the farthest reaches of the earth preparing their powerful steeds for the goat racing world finals. They saw the breads, pies, cookies, and cakes, all made from pumpkin, anxiously awaiting judgment with their creators alongside them. Hoping that this would be the year that they won the blue ribbon. Jack's journey ended there, however, for his parents dropped him off among the other children to roam the communal pumpkin patch. Then they almost immediately departed to take part in the pumpkin gut eating contest.
Pumpkin gut eating contest?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Do you have any idea what that might be?
Like pumpkin guts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they kind of just like open up a pumpkin and kind of just scoop out whatever's in there.
I imagine like heaping piles of like great big globs of piles of pumpkin guts on a paper plate.
Just put it in your mouth.
Like soggy, like when like a greasy slice of pizza is on like a white paper plate. That's what I imagine.
Oh my gosh.
And they just put them out, like, because you don't have to scoop it out yourself. Like, yeah, how fast are you gonna be able to eat the pumpkin guts?
Just nomming at it, just nom 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 nom.
Nom nom.
Just put it in your mouth in spoonfuls.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Anywhoozles. The young lad didn't mind his abandonment. In fact, he didn't much consider it. He was too busy with the gorgeous scene that he had been plopped into. Thousands of orange globes dispersed throughout the field, still connected to their leafy green lifelines, which tied them to the earth. The light reflecting off the ridges of these perfect fruits was almost too much for him to handle. Jack could not wait to bite into the flesh of his very first pumpkin. Up until this point, Jack's parents had kept him on a strict diet of grass shakes and anything edible that came out of their sheep farm. They had their hearts set on having the boy's first experience with a pumpkin be during the celebration of the Great Harvest Festival. They couldn't think of any better time to introduce their darling boy to the fruit that had given their country of oily and more so much. After all, given a bird's eye view of this nation, one would think that the earth itself was orange, so great were the multitudes of pumpkin farms. This fact absolutely overwhelmed the nation's culture to the point where almost everything contained some pumpkin. The wood for the homes was a pressboard made up of pumpkin stem and vine. The fibers for the citizens' clothes were even derived from fibers of these gourds. Needless to say, everyone on this massive island felt that their entire year led up to this festival, which lasted as long as it took to harvest all of the pumpkins, which usually averaged out to about a month. There in the patch, Flemmy Jack sat, images of pumpkin puffs dancing in his head. His sweet thoughts were interrupted, however, by the visage of little Patty McFlanagan's mean mug. Patty was a pudgy child that never much cared for new people, for the idea of something unrecognizable scared and confused her. So when she saw Jack, she rushed abruptly over to him, shrieking, "Your face is different, and I don't like you!" When her path finally met the place where poor Jack was standing, the pudgy little girl scrunched her face up to resemble a dried pumpkin and pushed with all of her might, sending Jack flying and her jelly rolls jiggling in protest.
Oh, God, no! No! Who is this Patty person?
A fat little girl.
Oh, she sounds like such a...
Fatty. Fatty nar.
She sounds like a Fatty Fatterson.
Fatty Fatterson. Fatty McFanigan.
Just the fact that she has like scrumpled up
Scrumpled.
face. Scrumpled
Is
face.
scrumpled a word?
No.
It should be.
It
should be.
Scrumpled? Yeah, scrumpled sounds like a good word. I'm going to start using that.
She's
got like a scrumpled up face, like a dirty old pumpkin, one, and two, like her body's just jiggling whenever she moves.
I think she crumpled up her face to like in effort.
Like in anger, like
anger and effort.
God, freaking gross.
Sorry, Ben.
You just the story's disgusting.
Sorry to subject you to this.
Ugh.
Satisfied with what she had done, Patty turned back to the immense raw pumpkin which she had been feasting on before our hero's face had disturbed her so.
I just like the idea that I admire these people's dedication to just kind of like accepting the pumpkin for what it is, and just kind of like I just imagine them just picking up a pumpkin and just biting into it, just like just the entire raw skin and all, just going right at it.
It's pretty gross.
Like at what point do you think they're actually enjoying the experience of eating the pumpkin?
The whole part.
They enjoy the entire thing.
The whole thing.
The entire thing is equal. They're like, oh, this rind is delicious. This soggy inside is great.
From bite to bum, the pumpkin is enjoyed.
Do they eat the vines too?
I don't know.
They probably do.
They probably do.
They probably do.
I don't know if they all just eat the pumpkins. I think it might just be this gross little girl.
This gross little girl probably enjoys sticking a pumpkin on a stick and licking it like it's a
Patty
lollipop.
McFlanagan.
Patty McFlanagan.
I was trying to do an Irish accent.
It started off like that, and
then it turned to
turned into the Count again.
Like Middle Eastern. Damn it. Oh well. What are you gonna do? You try and you try and you try, and sometimes you fail. And when you do,
your peers just make fun of you.
Yeah, but you keep doing what you're doing, and then when you're done doing what you were doing, you lay down and you cry a little while about it, and then you get back up and you finish your day and your life.
Yeah, man.
Sorry to bore you so.
Please continue. I'm enamored with where this story's going.
Okay. Jack, on the other hand, found himself some way across the field, sunken into an especially squishy pumpkin that was larger than he was. As he began to pick himself up, he noticed a terrible itch spreading across every inch of his body. With this terrible sensation rapidly spreading, he began to scream, as young children are apt to do. When his parents finally arrived on the scene to collect their panicking child, they looked apologetically at the crowd that had formed in the 20 minutes or so since Jack had started crying. They brandished their trophy, saying, "We couldn't have just left the contest," with a shrug. Acknowledging the intrinsic truth of the statement, the crowd dispersed and left the heroic parents to their charge. When they looked to their boy, though, what they found was something grotesque. What lay before them was a pumpkin, smashed in at the top with 2 legs sticking out of the side. The skin of the legs that wasn't obscured with the flesh of the gourd was swollen red and almost beyond recognition. So terrible was the rash festering upon it. These poor parents, Great Pumpkin, bless their souls, turned away from the soiled fruit, unable to bring themselves to the task of unearthing their swollen child from the flesh. Instead, they picked up a pumpkin, roughly the size of Jack, and went on their merry way, having effectively replaced him.
To be perfectly clear about this, I have to agree with the decision of the parents. Like, you don't, if you're in the middle of something like that, and it's as serious as a pumpkin guts eating contest,
yeah,
you're not going to leave that. Come on.
Okay. I don't know the cultural contest, but then in our modern culture and society, I would say I would disagree with you.
Well, hey, I mean, check out Joey Chestnut.
Who is Joey Chestnut?
You don't know who Joey Chestnut is?
No.
He's the mystical Asian who's able to just, hear me out. He is the worldwide hot dog eating champion.
I thought it was like no. What's his real name?
I don't know, but everyone knows him in America as Joey Chestnut because his I think he's actually Japanese. But
who's the guy who's also like from Japan or like China, like the like speed eats like other things?
I think that is the same person.
Okay, he has a name that I'm more familiar with. Oh,
does he?
Yeah.
Then maybe it's not, because I know for a fact that in America, like 99% of people know him as Joey Chestnut.
I've never heard. Why?
Because like his actual name is really weird and hard to pronounce, so they just like in America.
Is that what makes him mystical?
Yeah, well, it adds to the mysticality of it. Like you don't hear the name Joey Chestnut and you're like, oh, okay, let's walk around my merry way. You ask the question like,
does his name sound? That's that. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, that's exactly
what
I did.
Who the hell is Joey Chestnut? And then you hear he eats hot dogs. And you're like, where's the correlation? And then you find out that he's like Japanese, and you're like, my mind's blowing up with all these questions.
There's still
right
no
now.
Correlation, actually.
There's not. There's none at all. But it's amazing.
Does his name sound like Chestnut?
I don't think so. I mean, his name clearly isn't originally Joey. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's not Joey.
Racist. I'm just kidding.
Maybe in this context I sound a bit racy, but
so you agree, to get back on point, you agree with the parents on that?
Yes.
How about on the child replacement?
I mean, he was probably pretty gross looking.
I say.
Well,
who are we to question parents in a moment of grief?
Who
are we to question those actions?
Correct, but at the same point, Austin,
yes.
You know my stance on babies.
I
loathe
babies.
I do not like them. I think, and this, I will put this on the record for the public to know, I think that anything between the age of 0 and 2 is a pot of fat with teeth and hair, and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. If I'm ever to become a parent, I will probably leave my child for the first couple of years, come back when it's a toddler, greet it as my own, and just start playing catch with it.
Go on parental sabbatical.
Oh, yeah. I'll be like, I'll be like, this is your mom. I'm your real daddy.
Are you going to say this to a baby, or is this when you come back?
No, this is when I come back.
Well, kiddo, I'm gonna be leaving for a few years. This is your mom. I'm your dad. Your real dad.
Yeah.
Your mom and I have this agreement to where if she sees other people when I'm gone, that's A-okay. I don't need to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. But when I get back, this marriage thing is back on. So, yeah, that's your strategy.
In a nutshell, it's set to change if I ever find that lucky lady,
that lucky baby.
Oh,
tell you folks out there.
Yeah.
Ben is a 6'4" African American man looking for a sweet mamacita.
Mama say mama so makuso.
Between the ages of 30 and 65. Ben, mind you, is smoking 20 years old.
I like my women older.
He's also super white. That thing about him being an African American was a lie.
Bold-faced lie.
I'm sorry.
The cover art.
I feel
the cover
bad.
art is not true to life. It's actually it's supposed to be a negative.
This is exactly what we look like.
It's a negative.
That's actually exactly what we look like. We are black-skinned, white-haired, with wide white eyes.
Yes.
We have very Anglo-Saxon faces.
We don't go out in the sunlight.
I do.
It's bad for our hair.
It's bad for our hair.
Bad for our hair.
I wear ball caps.
You do, actually.
All right. Let's continue on, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Jack's parents then returned to the merriment of the festival, absorbing all that it had to offer.
Good choice.
They had an absolutely lovely day, showing their new pride and joy all around the festival, which they adored so much. They showed the pumpkin. They showed the pumpkin the goat races and the petting zoo. They went on a historical hayride through the pumpkin fields. The parents even got the chance to finally introduce their new boy to all of the pumpkin-related delicacies. There were pumpkin cream pies, pumpkin stuffed pumpkin cake, and even pumpkin cookies, which didn't actually have any pumpkin in them, but they were shaped like the fruits and decorated accordingly with orange, black, and green frosting. All of these wonderful treats the doting couple smushed into the side of the pumpkin. A wonderful time was had by all, and after the festival was over, they went home to show the gourd its new room and to clean all the rotting pumpkin desserts off of its skin.
That pumpkin's a cannibal.
That pumpkin had no choice in the matter, Ben. How dare you?
That pumpkin's a goddamn self-made man.
I know.
He's got himself a family.
He can't...
He's eating his own goddamn people. How dare he?
Ben, how dare you suggest he had any choice in the matter? You sick.
How dare I dare he dare you?
How dare though? How dart thou?
How darest thee?
Ooh, please.
Shakespearean.
Talk Shakespearean to me. Alright. Our hero simply lay in the pumpkin, which had become his abode the month long, unable to lift himself from the depths, so swollen were his joints, and so stuffed were his sinuses. So he continued to lay there, barely breathing and barely moving, surviving simply by absorbing nutrients from the fruit, which had become his sworn enemy, through his skin. Sometime later, when the pumpkin that Jack had been mercilessly pushed into had vanished, due both to rotting and being consumed by wild animals and the boy himself, he was finally able to drag his body from the accursed pumpkin patch. Barely an inch from death, he managed to pull himself onto a muddy hill with a single tree atop it, overlooking the grounds of the festival. Over the next few weeks, Flemmy Jack regained his strength by nibbling on the tree's bark and licking the mud in which he laid.
Ew.
Jack would eventually become strong again. However, his stuffed nose would never subside. Eventually, the boy who had fallen into a pumpkin became a tall man with the frame of someone who fed solely upon grass shakes and tree bark. This lack of any real sustenance created the incredibly thin and rigid frame of the man from then on known as Flemmy Jonathan. As thin as he was, he somehow managed to grow at least 3 saplings taller than the tallest citizen in Oilean Moor. He achieved this regardless of the fact that he had been denied all of the nutrients that come of a hearty pumpkin meal. This wasn't for lack of trying, mind you. Sure, Flemmy Jack may have been traumatized by the events of his first harvest, and sure, he may have refused to go anywhere near a pumpkin for years after he escaped the clutches of that vile fruit. But this was not the nature of Flemmy Jonathan. He was a man, after all, and he would act as such, even if that meant looking at, touching, and maybe even licking a pumpkin. This bravery did not last long, however, for when he finally ventured down from the muddy hill, which he at that point called his home, and came into contact with the bulbous item in question, the outcome was quite negative. The second he knelt down in the same field that he sat so happily in 14 years ago, and felt his fingers wrap around the flesh of the fruit, still wet with the morning dew, he was forced to recoil in pain. The poor man's fingers had inflated to the size of pumpkin rolls in such a way that it caused his fingernails to rocket off in all directions.
Ooh.
This sent him scampering back up his hill, howling in pain. Damn these pumpkins and damn this accursed land! Jonathan would have been in quite a pumpkin if anyone had heard these terrible obscenities.
That was a terrible pumpkin pun.
But luckily for him, everyone else was with their families enjoying a free picnic provided by the council. He acknowledged his good luck on the matter and returned sullenly to his mud brick home, his fate sealed. With his intolerance to pumpkins, there was no hope of him returning to a normal life. Been you sleeping?
No, I'm listening. This is how I listen. If I have my eyes closed, I'm not looking at different things around the room.
Your eyes are
I'm like, oh, look at this.
Your eyes are darting around.
I have like sudden onset ADD with my eyes open. And when I have them closed, I can better pay attention.
You're focusing? Are you imagining?
Yeah, I can actually. It
nice.
works better for me this way.
That's nice, actually.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. As life continued for this outsider, he became rather bitter and cold-hearted. The local lasses were sickened by his wiry frame, or found the idea that Jonathan couldn't share a pumpkin pulp shake ludicrous. Even more still were offended when they tried to... Oh, I see. Even more still were offended when they tried to hold his hand, forcing him to recoil when the trace amounts of pulp on theirs would cause his fingers to swell violently. There would, although, be a few young women that didn't mind all of that. These relationships' failures were nevertheless inevitable due to the countless problems caused by Jonathan's abandonment issues. The subject of love, however, was not the only point of contention in his life. He wasn't able to exit his home without suffering violent flashbacks triggered by the countless ribbed orange fruits that lay in wait outside his door. All of the rejection and all of the ridicule turned the boy into the pumpkin patch to a mean-spirited man who relished in trickery and pranks. This, mind you, was no fault of his own. He was a product of the society in which he was reared. Not surprisingly, the people in the village below did not enjoy the feeling of horror when Jonathan would pretend that he had snatched the noses from their faces, or the embarrassment when he could be seen in stitches, laughing at his window after watching the passerby fall on their bums or elbows after trying to pry a coin up from the side of the tree where he had stuck it.
Ooh.
Classic.
Guy's freaking diabolical.
Classic pranks.
Terrible, terrible person.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you really blame him?
No. Like it says. He was a product of the society he was reared in.
It's true. It's like you don't stick a... You don't stick a camel with a bunch of horses and expect it to get along. It doesn't make sense.
It's true. It's prophetic.
Poor old Flemmy Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
Just, trying to bide his time. And I'm sure somewhere else in the world there's a bunch of people just like him. And he's separated from them. That's the kind of image I'm getting. Like, he's not a bad or wrong person. He's just not in the right place.
He's just different. He's an outcast.
He's a bit of an outcast.
I see.
And he lives in a mud hut. That's kind of unfortunate. No one likes living in mud huts.
Like, he can't live in the normal homes.
Yeah, I guess that is true. They are made of pumpkins.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You probably had to build that.
He did. And you know what? I'm guessing what the tools are made out of.
Pumpkins. Shoot.
Gosh.
That is terrible.
Flemmy Jonathan.
Poor guy.
If you are still out there, give us your address. We will send you a care package.
Give us a call.
Give us a call. We'll be on the line waiting.
1-800 We Found a Book. Our operators are at the ready.
They are standing by.
Yeah. All right. Several years later, with the spirit of trickery and sanguine strong in his heart, Flemmy Jonathan was lying back down on the soft earth of his home. The cheers and laughter of the harvest festivities were loud in his ears. Several feelings weighed heavy on his soul. He had his visceral hate of what was being celebrated at the party, but he also longed for the mindset of the boy standing in the pumpkin patch, dreaming of the sweet treats of the festivities. Unable to block out the more sensitive of his heart's whims, Jonathan stood up, thinking that he would sit atop his hill and watch the fun from afar. When he made his way to find his seat, though, he saw death sitting in the place his mind had designed for himself. "What can I do you for this evening?" the wiry man inquired, as anyone would of someone interloping on what was theirs. "Take a seat next to me here," said Death slowly. "I feel that I share your sentiment." Jonathan didn't know his meaning in this, so he remained quiet, respecting the presence of his decider. I've been coming to Orlean Moor for as long as this nation has been in existence. Just for a night a year to watch the festivities. I've always thought of how grand it would be to walk among the smiling faces and smell of the sweetness in the air. When Death finished saying this, a low rattling sigh came from beneath the hood of his robes. Jonathan smirked at this. He felt that having such a powerful companion in such a powerless state could be rather beneficial for him. Quick on his feet, as he was, he put his brain to work in that comfortable silence and weaved his cleverest trick from the thin air and bitter sentiments. "I believe I could be of service to you, my friend," he piped up, beginning to put his arm around the figure beside him and almost immediately pulling it back, unsure of which stories on touching the robes of Death were correct. Death was skeptical, as he had been around the block a few hundred times. He simply raised his brow bone and said, "Oh, really?" "Yes," replied Flemmy Jonathan, confident in the plan he had only just hatched. "If you transform yourself into a pumpkin seed, I could sneak you into the festival under the guise of entering the pumpkin breeding contest. No one would ever think anything of it." Death's doubt evaporated almost immediately upon hearing such a brilliant course of action, and he found it quite difficult to resist. "This is a desire that I've long held in my heart," the robed figure sighed. As he said this, smoke began to seep out of his eyes, and before Racing Regina, the world's record title holder, could have crossed the 100-meter line, Death had turned into a measly little seed floating on a puff of vapor. Without missing a beat, Jonathan snatched the seed out of the air with a glass jar, slapped the lid on it, and returned to his home, only to rest the jar upon a shelf.
He's not even taking him to the pumpkin festival.
No, I don't think he is.
Ugh. All this, all this understanding I have for this guy just went right out the window.
Yeah, you lost sympathy for him.
I lost some respect for this guy.
Oh, wow. How about sympathy?
No.
Oh, you still feel bad for him?
Kind of. He wouldn't be in this kind of, now I'm just kind of playing, morality decider with myself. It's
playing
like,
devil's advocate with yourself?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like, hey, on one side of the spectrum,
it's not, he's put in a raw position, but on the other time,
that's not a cool thing to do.
No, especially not to your decider, and especially not to the person who's going to decide whether you're going up or down.
Or just like decides when you leave the earth.
Yeah.
He raw dogged Death.
Yeah, he did.
Did him dirty.
Did him dirty.
But on the other hand, what's the mindset of this guy?
Who?
This outcast.
Jonathan? Yeah. Good point. I don't know this yet.
Changes his name.
Oh, does he?
To Flemmy Jonathan.
Oh, right, of course.
Trying to push the shackles of youth from his shoulders. As if changing his name to Jonathan makes him more mature.
Wearing, business casual stuff when he's trying to be cool.
Wearing ties.
Khakis and ties at inappropriate moments.
What a punk.
Doesn't even wear sneakers anymore, just dress shoes and jeans. He's one of those guys who tucks in his t-shirts into his jeans. Ugh. That guy.
Probably looks pretty fly, actually. I think he's a fashionista of sorts.
Changing it up.
Right? I bet he looks pretty good.
Pretty fly for a non-pumpkin guy.
Nice. He's an outcast, but he's still got some ladies, still got some dates, like a lot. True. Like, so let's do some math here. Said when he went out and tried the pumpkin for the first time, he was 14. It was 14 years later from original, and there's a pumpkin festival once a year, so he was 1 year old. 1 year old in the events, in the beginning of the story, right? And story. So he's so he was 15 then, and then several years later, so that's about 3. So he's 18 now. So in his 18 years, he had many dates. So I think this guy dressed to the nines.
How many of those dates were with his hands, though?
None of them. Ben, how can you date a hand? You silly man. They were with people.
Oh, me.
Lady peoples.
Oh.
So I think he's dressed pretty fashionably. I challenge you to disagree with me.
I do not have the equipped information.
You don't have the facts.
I don't know the facts.
I was looking under your desk. I couldn't focus on your story, even though it was gripping and sensational.
It's very enticing.
What does that mean, to say something sensational?
Sensational?
Yeah.
It spurs...
Sensations.
Without using the word.
Ooh.
I say it spurs sensational. Yeah, it spurs excitement in your senses.
I think sensational is like
you know that.
I think sensational like it does it like it derives passion from people, but I think it's also like it has like a following, like a cult following. When something's sensational, I think like a bunch of people are driven by their passions.
See, the way to
like it a lot and be together and form a relationship.
Sure.
I community.
I feel the best way to describe sensational is with a kind of reaction that comes with it. Is that, you know, like when you hear a song for the first time and it's so good, like it sends I guess that shiver up your spine. You're like, oh, yeah, this is fantastic. That's like sensational.
Like goosebumps.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is like too good to be true.
I get that shiver when I don't like something.
Well, that's a cringe, not a sensation.
No, it's like this. It's like a shiver. It's like goosebumps. It's like when I hear like something really cheesy, like in a song, I'll go like, ugh. Like I'll shiver. It's like a shiver. It's not like before. A cringe.
You're like, oh god, no. Like why?
And like it tingles up my body, and I feel like I'm blushing maybe.
See, whenever I hear something bad like that, or corny rather, I get a kind of similar reaction, but like I have like a kind of like spasm attack where I just kind of like shake and then like my temples like
that.
I can feel
Like,
and the thing is like I know because like my jaw tenses up and I like my temples start to hurt.
I think my jaw. Like, I feel like I feel that too, like right behind your jawbone.
Yeah, kind of like a pushing on your temples. Yeah, so you know something's bad compared to a sensation where it's like a shiver up your spine. You're like, oh, got a little bit lightheaded there.
I don't know if I have that.
I get that. It's enjoyable. I don't get goosebumps.
I don't know if I have a soul. Who's to say we're real? Who's to say I'm real?
Let's not get
we could just be voices.
Let's not get
How do they know?
How do they know?
They don't.
They don't know.
We're robots. We're computer programs.
Maybe we are just literally voices.
Floating. Maybe this podcast isn't even real. Maybe this is just voices in your head.
It's the noise of me popping out of existence.
All right, let's get back to the story, shall we?
Sure.
I think we were talking about how could he, but then we got on a tangent. It's all right. Let's get back. So right now, he's plopped death in a jar as a seed on his shelf. Okay. Where are we here? He had never intended to bring death to the festival, and therefore felt no guilt in taking what he figured was a well-deserved nap. When he awoke, he pulled himself up from the floor and returned to the shelf to observe the seed which death had become. It was absolutely gorgeous, and looked more like a chunk of gold than anything organic. This breathtaking revelation had the wiry man rethinking his previous plan to simply leave the Lord of Expiration on his shelf as a trophy. Perhaps I could get a pretty penny for such a trinket, he thought out loud. There were quite a few rich investors among the people at the local festival that would give their first patch for a piece of memorabilia such as this.
Say a patch?
Their first, like, pumpkin patch.
Oh! I was thinking, like, a literal patch.
Like a patch?
Like a patch of cloth.
I think there's a lot of literal patches.
I'm stupid right now.
It's alright, then. Take the deep breath I took at the beginning of the story.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back in action.
Feel better?
Let's continue this story.
Feel better?
Very.
Good.
Much, rather. Much better.
Much.
Very better.
Very better.
Listen to me. Oh, Ben, what do you think of next?
There were quite a few rich investors among the people at the local festival that would give their first patch for such a piece of memorabilia. But perhaps the thoughts of having death... Ugh. Terrible. Terrible.
Gotta get down.
That was doing okay for a while.
Those past two lines were pretty solid, and then you kind of...
Like, even the ones early on the pages.
Yeah.
Oh, let's try again.
Fell back into that trope of losing yourself in that accent.
Stinking. But perhaps the thought of having death himself on their mantelpieces... No, I can't. And I'm just going to do it like this. Like the way I did it.
Really?
I'm gonna read it again.
Try it one more time.
Yeah. They're always after me, Lucky Charms. But perhaps the thought of having death himself on the mantelpieces would put these gentle people in a state of unease. He continued to pontificate to the vacant room. But they needn't know the true origin of such a fine prize. After all, I'm sure the sheer appearance of this gilded seed will be all the convincing the buyers will need. All the while that Flemmy Jonathan was speaking, the anger at being tricked by such a rube had shrunk from an unmitigated rage into a state of desperate bargaining. Smoke filled the room and began circling the ceiling as the man's inner monologue continued to be an outer one. The smoke became ever thicker until it gained the fortitude to seep into one of Jonathan's ears and take hold there. The voice of death could be heard as clearly as a loved one's whisper. If you let me out, I can offer you something far more valuable than all the gold on this fruity land. Jonathan was not an especially greedy man, but the desire of gain that lays in wait upon the hearts of all men had the better of him. Death went on, If you release me from this crystalline prison, I will not collect your soul. The man was not a dullard, regardless of the fact that he had temporarily lost the ability to internalize his thoughts. So he snapped back, What sort of bargain is that? I know that you are bound by fate not to take my soul until it is time. So what advantage do I have in agreeing to hold off an impossible eventuality? Regardless, how would you take me, trapped in my jar as you are? Jonathan finished, satisfied with the thought that had just struck him. Do you have such great faith in a random patron to keep me in this jar and never so much as crack the lid? Even if you bid them with a warning never to take me out, it is a certainty that one day the lid will be cracked, perhaps by a nosy relative, or the ever-curious hands of a child. It matters not. I will be freed nonetheless. And yes, it is true that I may not take you until the judgment day is upon us. But if you proceed with your plan, take you I shall. You have made it apparent that you are aware of the less than virtuous life you have led. Those who sit with death are destined to sup with him. Leaving the man with this proverb, the smoke funneled from his ears and left Jonathan to make his decision.
What was that last part that Death said?
He said
to sup with him?
He said, where's that? Those who sit with death are destined to sup with him.
Like eat dinner?
Yeah, kind of.
Huh. Just wondering. I've never heard that term before.
You never heard sup? Yeah.
Want to go supping after this? Why don't we go? No, seriously. Actually, you know what?
Are you hungry?
I am kind of hungry. Why don't we finish up this
Feeling
podcast?
a bit peckish.
We'll go get some sup. We'll go get our sup on.
We'll go sup together?
We'll go sup.
No, not shake your hand. I want to hold it.
You want to hold my hand?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Let's continue on.
Yes.
He knew that he had less than virtuous life, and although it had never concerned him up until that point, it was definitely concerning him then. He figured that if death didn't take his soul, the Golden Pumpkin Plains would have to take him in upon his death. After all, he would have nowhere else to go. Upon having this stroke of genius, Jonathan spoke aloud. All right, Death, you have yourself a deal. As he said this, he twisted the lid of the jar, allowing smoke to pour from it into his meager mud brick home, temporarily blinding him. When the smoke cleared, he was alone, with no sign as to whether the deal that he had struck with death would be honored or not. This fact, which would be unnerving to some, didn't weigh too heavy on the mind of Flemmy Jonathan. On the contrary, in fact, he carried on his lifestyle of trickery and cold-heartedness. Some who knew him might even say that he grew worse as time went on. Simple gags such as a coin on a string turned into elaborate pranks, or someone would more often than not sustain some sort of serious injury. Flemmy Jonathan could be seen by moonlight digging deep holes or setting up elaborate pulley and weight systems, constantly plotting out bigger and more elaborate tricks. The ramping up of pranks quite understandably infuriated the village people, which Jonathan preyed upon.
They're called the village people.
You know, the village people.
What?
Yeah.
Continue. I'm interested to hear about the shenanigans and antics of Flemmy Jonathan and the Village People.
It's a good band name. If someone had slipped some ground pumpkin seed into his midday grass shake, not a single citizen would have batted an eye. But the people of Olean Moor were kind, gentle folk, and although many considered it justified, no one ever went through with it. Thus, Jonathan was allowed to slip into his old age, and eventually into the realm of the spirits, unharmed by his neighbors. You respect that. They're turning the proverbial other cheek,
Cannot say would have done the same.
as it were.
I'm a very vengeful man.
Oh, well. Do you have any stories, Ben?
About revenge?
Do you have any anecdotes about your revenge?
One time when I was in 3rd grade, and we were in recess, one of my friends pushed me, and I scraped my elbow, and I landed in a thing of fire ants. Actually,
A thing?
a thing.
A jar? A jar? A bag?
I landed on a.
Let me think of a good word.
A
sack.
I landed on a sack of fire ants.
A lump?
Yeah, it was a sack of fire ants.
It was Fire Ant Day at school.
It was Fire Ant Day at school, and I landed on the display of fire ants. Mm-hmm. And a few of them ended up biting me. I had to go to the nurse's office.
You just fell? Someone pushed you?
Yeah, we were playing tag, and one of my friends got a little bit too
taggy.
edgy. He was like, "I'm gonna,"
a little too taggy.
So he like side checked me. Like, "You're it." Profanity word. Beep, as it were.
Beep. I actually don't know how to do that.
The beeping noise?
Yeah.
It's just a sound effect you can probably pull up on your computer.
Maybe. Go ahead.
If you do figure it out, put it in there. Then like 3 times after that's like right on time.
I'm gonna put it after.
It sounds like I'm like just spewing out profanities.
I'm gonna put it like right after you make the beep noise, like halfway on another word.
Yeah.
We missed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, so my friend cordially returned back to class, feeling normal, and I was sitting there in the nurse's office, licking my wounds,
Feeling abnormal.
dipping my my elbow in the saltiest of pits to sterilize, so I wouldn't get bleeding.
Of pits?
Yes, we actually. Well, it's like most. You know how most schools nowadays have salt barrels because they're more sanitary. I went to an older private school, and instead of that, they had the traditional salt pits.
Sounds like armpits.
Yeah.
Sounds
well,
like
no,
sweaty.
it's literally.
Sounds like you're saying sweaty armpits.
No, salt pit. It's literally just a hole in the ground that has some natural salt in it. That whenever you get a cut, dip your cut in some salt.
No salve?
Nah, we use salt where I'm from. So while I was there, I decided to grab some salt. I threw it. That's all I could think of at the time. I just threw it in his face. And then I said we were at recess.
When? Like when you got back to class?
Back to class, yeah.
Just in front of everyone?
Yeah, I walked over to his desk.
Oh wow, you were really possessed by the spirit of revenge.
Eat this salt.
Put it in your mouth.
Put it in your mouth.
Put it in your eyes.
That's what it sounded like when I was in 3rd grade.
My voice has actually risen.
Tag your it. Don't push me into that anthill, you dick.
Well, I'm glad they fixed that issue with your vocal cords.
That's what it was. The trauma.
The
trauma.
Your swollen vocal cords.
The trauma released all the pressure in my vocal cords, and now I sound like this. Stay away from me. You're a bully. You're a bully and you know it. Eat this salt.
Oh, gosh. All
Let's
right.
get back to the story.
Let's get down to business.
Ah.
All right. When that day of reckoning came, late on a brisk night in early October, Jonathan found himself floating through the muddy roof of his home and high up into the air. Before he was even fully awake, the wary man found himself suspended high above the earth, surrounded by blinding white lights shining at him from every direction.
Airplanes.
Helicopters. Flemmy Jonathan, correct? Inquired a learned voice. Yes. Stuttered
Yes. Like an old woman.
Stuttered Jonathan painfully Stuttered Jonathan, painfully aware of his current situation. The voice shot out once again from all directions. You have led a wicked life, Flemmy Jonathan. There was not a single day in which your mind was occupied with kind thoughts. Instead, you filled your life thinking of humorous ways to punish those around you. But I was the one who was punished, the prankster shouted back. My bad. But I was the one who was punished, the prankster shouted back. Hope that doesn't hurt your ears. I'm sorry.
We're sorry. Please don't leave.
You were given an opportunity to do a great service to your country. You're the one who was meant to lead the nation away from the fruit which has consumed every waking moment of their lives. It was your destiny to travel to different lands and bring new forms of agriculture to your people. You were meant to be a cultural savior. Upon hearing all that had been laid out for him, the poor man began to sob deeply. I suffered so much. How could I have stopped myself from lashing out? Jonathan managed to say through his blubbering. It was then that the memory of his deal with death struck him. Upon this recollection, he began to chuckle. The tears of his remorse turned into those of mirth as he said to the light, You have to accept me. I made a deal with death that he wouldn't take my soul. There's nowhere else for me to go. So you must take me in. In response, only the deafening sounds of silence could be heard, as the light once so blinding drained from around him until darkness pressed in on his eyes. Realizing that he had been denied, Jonathan began to scream out and moan in self-pity. Oh!
Like old men are off to do.
Okay.
Oh no.
I ripped a page in the book. That's bad. Your grandpa's gonna kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't even know.
If he finds out.
Fist bump.
Yeah. He continued on in this manner for quite some time until his voice went hoarse and an earthy ground came up to greet him. He immediately crumpled as it did, and as he sat there in the darkness, a warm flickering light began to replace the space where the white had so recently occupied, as if thousands of candles were filling a vast cave. As the flickering lights continued to grow, the prankster found himself at the foot of Death's throne. Upon realizing where he now found himself, he began to plead with Death, saying, I have been rejected from the realm of righteousness. Will you please take me in here? I have nowhere else to go. Death does not go back on his promises, replied the figure on the throne with a hint of mirth in his voice.
I just see Death doing that, and then, like, afterwards, like, slowly putting on a pair of shades as the Who just goes off in the background. Yeah.
Which song by the Who?
Oh God, the one from the CSI Miami intro. The one where it starts off with the screamers, like, yeah!
What is it?
The power chords. I don't know. We won't get fooled again.
Yeah, that's perfectly applicable, actually.
Yeah.
That's awesome. At this, a look of horror flashed across Jonathan's face as Death raised his hand, sending the man hurtling up through the earth, back to the realm of man. Unfortunately for Jonathan, he emerged exactly where a large pumpkin was resting on the ground. It stayed fixed to his head when the rest of his body came up and became stuck there as his eyes, nose, and lips swelled to such enormous sizes that they burst through the sides of the fruit. The banished soul writhed around on the ground in pain as the gourd fused to his skin, becoming a permanent fixture of his head.
I actually love the way that was phrased. I can just imagine that in my head.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
His lips bursting through the pumpkin.
I just like all of his like features, like just two eyes just pop out, like a giant like bulbous like
lips,
cauliflower nose.
Oh yeah, like there's like bubble lips, like big like they got like cartoon punched.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. He's just kind of like wobbling around,
and he's like thinner than the pumpkin. I think
it's like a fat pumpkin.
The pumpkin's big and he's skinny.
like disproportionate to like a cartoonish like amount.
Yeah. Flemmy Jonathan continues to prank those caught off guard to this day, despite the state of his altered cranium. Although after the first few years of this, a retaliation that proved quite effective in staving off the depraved spirit took hold. People began the practice of carving faces into pumpkins and placing them on their doorsteps, in order to mock the disfigured appearance of the spirit which haunted them. Upon approaching a house, armed as such, the Flemmy spirit will turn his pranks toward the residents of another. If he finds himself turned away too many times in a row, however, he will usually return home and spend the day in bed.
Just like he sees and knows, he's just like, no, it's like walks home.
He's just resolved to spend it. He's like, I'm just gonna spend the rest of the day in bed.
Puts on a pair of sweatpants and just calls it a day. Like, I'm not even dealing with this right now.
Turns on Netflix.
Yeah. Watches like a documentary
on his mud TV. All right, that's the story.
I love it.
I want to see you draw Flemmy Jonathan.
I want to try
in his spirit's form.
The one where he actually has a pumpkin for a head.
Yeah, like he's dead at that point.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
I would love to.
I would like to see your imagining of that.
Because I just imagine it like on an old wrinkly body. He's kind of like hunched over. That like he's like barely able to keep his head up, but you know, see all this kind of creepy stuff going on.
I could see that. That's cool.
I like that idea.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
There's a moral.
Is there?
As always.
Of course.
Are you ready?
I am.
Ben, are you ready?
I am ready for this moral.
Brace yourself.
I'm
Grab something.
completely content. I'm holding onto the edge of my seat right now.
Okay. Moral. Avoid having an allergy at all costs. If you decide to get one, you will be ostracized and generally disliked.
Of course! Nobody likes that guy.
That's like,
clearly.
Oh, I'm allergic to that.
Like, when I hear the words, I'm allergic to, I just stop the person I'm talking to. I tell them to shut up. Tell them to get out of my face because I don't want that kind of garbage in my life.
I don't have as violent of a reaction, honestly.
I'm just saying
but it's similar in that the exact moment that I hear those words in that sequence, I just stop listening.
Yeah, you kind of like start shaking your head like, okay, I know where I've heard all I needed to hear, and I'm just gonna stop it right now. Yeah. And I'm just gonna.
I start thinking about white tea.
White tea.
How much I love it.
Oh,
right?
That stuff with a little bit of raspberry in it.
Dude, I wish that they had different flavors.
I had a citrus one.
Imagine
today.
More where of white tea?
Yeah.
Where?
It was at my.
Was it
school.
Lipton?
Yeah. It wasn't as good as the white tea, but it was a difference.
Was it white tea?
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as the raspberry. You didn't like it as much.
No, it was.
You said it wasn't as good as the white tea.
See, it was citrus and green tea actually.
Oh, it was green tea.
Yeah.
No, see, Ben, I need a different flavor of white tea. Snapple, back in my youth, when I was first introduced to the concept of white tea, had a peach flavor.
Oh,
it was delicious.
That sounds.
I used to enjoy it with cold cut subs.
Cold cut subs. That sounds delightful.
It was so good. So yeah, that's where my brain wanders when people talk about their allergies. I don't care.
I don't.
You don't matter.
They're actually.
You don't matter, Ben.
I knew a person who had an unnatural amount of allergies to the point where I it went beyond hating him to the point of like just feeling so sad for him.
Yeah.
He couldn't enjoy anything fun in life.
That sucks.
He was allergic to chocolate and peanut butter.
What would you do if you were allergic to peanut butter?
I would just give up on life. I love that stuff so much.
I would die.
I cannot not have peanut butter.
I would actually die.
I would die because I would want peanut butter.
I would go out. Yeah.
I'm taking this risk and I'm eating it and I know I'm going to die, but it is so good. It is worth death. God is saying, this is how you're going to go out, son. Just take a spoonful and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I'd go out in a blaze of glory. My roommates would find me covered in peanut butter, six jars around my body.
Just a spoonful of like melted peanut butter and a syringe.
And a lighter. There's just a spoonful of...
Nirvana's playing in the background.
Smells like Teen Spirit. Smells like
burning peanut butter.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something rhymey and clever, but my brain wasn't fast enough.
Ugh.
Maybe there's nothing there.
Maybe there isn't. Just like the soul of Flemmy John. There isn't anything there anymore.
Sad. So, actually, the reason I picked out that story is because that's the origin, I think, of jack-o'-lanterns.
It would make sense.
It's the origin story. That's where it came from. It's pretty explicit, I think.
Origin stories of jackalopes.
Yeah.
This one definitely
So
seems to
kids-
have a bit more of a background and something that's a little bit more real. You know, jack-o'-lanterns are a thing that exists.
Yeah.
You know,
So like maybe this is actually something that happened.
Yeah.
More of a myth than a fairy tale.
I like that idea.
So yeah, kids, if you don't want Flemmy Jonathan
To come and tickle your toes in the night.
or Flemmy Jack to put a bag of burning dog poop on your porch or
Egg your house.
at your house, TP your house.
TP.
You know, it took me a long time to realize what TPing was. Like,
Really?
what's TPing?
TPing?
What's TP?
Toilet paper.
I didn't know that.
You
It
didn't
was
know
spelled
that?
it was like one of those things where I'd never seen it written. I'd only seen it heard.
Oh.
And it was like, I thought it was spelled like TIPI.
You thought you were talking about those Indian houses?
I didn't think that's what they were talking about. Oh, maybe
Maybe
I
that's what they were
did
talking
because
about.
like, you know, if you throw like a roll of toilet paper over a branch, it like becomes a point.
I guess so.
Kind of makes a house look like a teepee.
I mean, a tree.
Or a house because like it
guess you could.
turns siding made of plastic, brick, or cement into a fabric of sorts, and that's what teepees are made of.
Yeah. I've always wanted. As a kid, I desperately wanted to actually live in a teepee.
I had a teepee like in my room. It was like against the wall.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
it
jealous.
was weird.
I wanted that, and I wanted a sky bed, which I got.
What's a
and
sky bed?
It's a
Like a
bed on
lofted bed?
stilts.
Is that
Yeah.
what you mean? You do have a lofted bed.
I do have a lofted bed, and I do appreciate it, but it's a bit too small for me.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Thanks, Mummy.
Who bought you that sky bed, Ben?
It was a gift from my parents for my 14th birthday.
It's cute.
Because I got a room renovation since my parents just did some kind of renovation to the house. Or like, you need a new bed. Let's just get you this to save you more space on the ground. And I was like, that's awesome. I don't care about the desk underneath. I'm not going to use for schoolwork because I'm going to drop out of college. That's not true. And
It's not true, Mom and Dad. I love you.
Mom and Dad, I love you. I'm totally going to go to college. No, but I got my loft bed and I enjoy it. That's all I have to say about that.
Ben, put that toy away.
Okay. I'm playing with buckyballs.
You're distracting yourself.
I am.
Okay, so, yeah, so kids, if you don't want this,
What's that, Austin?
Ben, what are you doing?
I'm just holding my mic.
Ben, you're losing.
I'm not.
You're losing.
I'm not losing. I'm a winner.
You're losing.
I'm a winner.
See, put it down. You're like
Something. I'm a winner.
you're just changing. You're changing what the audio's been.
All right.
Okay, so that's the story. What were your final thoughts, Ben?
It has a lot of insight into many things in real life, including jack-o'-lanterns and the morality of some people, and what mistreating some people based off of their conditions can really do to affect a person's psyche. So keep in mind, people, if there's somebody in your daily life that takes a lot of crap, give them some slack once in a while, because chances are, if you don't, they're going to snap and start doing some pretty awful stuff to you, too.
Ben, you're a nerd, I think. You're a nerd.
Hey!
What a nerdy thing to say.
Shut up!
You are a nerd. I'm going to give you a wedgie now.
Shut up!
I'm going to give you a wedgie now.
Throw salt in your face! Get out of here, you bully!
You're a nerd.
You're a bully.
Give me your lunch money.
Give me yours. Yeah!
That's not how this works.
How's it feel?
That's not how this works. Give me your lunch money,
No.
kid.
Punk.
No, but for real, if like somebody's different or weird, like just take advantage of that and then like push them down, like make them cry. I think it makes them better.
Oh, does it?
It makes them stronger.
Oh,
It
really?
makes them faster, and they get a love for techno music.
I just got where you were going with that.
What do you mean?
Daft Punk. Come on.
Daft Punk?
Daft Punk.
Daft Funk?
Daft Funk.
Let's start
Funk.
a funk band called Daft Funk.
Daphed. Daft.
Daffod.
Daffod.
Daphne.
Daphne Funk.
All right. we keep getting off track like very easily.
Easily, very like
very badly.
Very
Not
badly.
even interesting.
It's not. We're just
saying
talking.
things. Okay, so yeah, if someone's different, they kind of suck and they shouldn't be that way. But at the same time, if they want to be that way, it's not your business. So just buzz off, kid.
Yeah, just don't even try doing that kind of stuff because it's gonna be super rude and super mean. And you're not. If you got nothing else to say, don't say anything else.
Just stop making fun of me. Just stop it. Everyone at my school needs to leave me alone. I know that my coat is made of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but my mom thought it was crafty and clever. So you all need to stop. Everyone at my school needs to stop. I swear. If they don't stop, I'm going to bring water balloons filled with pee and vinegar, and I'm going to throw it at all of you. All the people who have ever called me bad names.
Yeah, guys, just because Austin's mom knits and she makes really weird stuff, like she makes a freaking like
I made it.
sweater out of...
I made it. She liked it, but I made it.
And there goes any chance I have of standing up for Austin in this fight. So why don't we call it a day here? Austin's having a moment. I think that just means that it's my cue and my turn to do the outro for this selection. So while we go ahead and just move the mic away from Austin,
Don't touch it.
we're gonna.
I'm
We're
better.
gonna-
I'm better. It's
We're gonna
fine.
let him do his thing.
It's fine.
We're gonna let him do his thing while we take this into the end credits.
Are you?
So
You taking us out, Ben?
I'm taking you out.
This is beautiful. Like I've never seen such a thing before.
Taking you out. So this has been episode 5? 4. Episode 4 of our lovely little
Our
podcast.
Halloween edition.
As Austin has put it, this is a special holiday Halloween special.
One Halloween podcast.
As we continue our outro, it's taking a bit longer than I expected.
It is November 1st. I hope you all had a lovely day trick-or-treating.
We both do.
Yesterday. Or maybe partying. Maybe you got a little bit drunk. Maybe you wore something funny. Maybe you wore something a little revealing.
Or maybe you were just downright scary.
Like a sexy kitty.
As long as you weren't trying to be sexy and just came off as scary.
Yeah,
you
then
should
I'm
be fine.
sorry. Then I'm deeply, deeply sorry.
We both are. But
For you, from you and yours.
From you and yours.
I am
From me
sorry.
and mine. From us and ours. If you like what we do here and you want to support us, definitely feel free to check out our Facebook page.
Twitter.
Our Twitter.
Our website,
Our website is up and running,
wefoundabook.com.
and we love it.
That's the website, though.
It
It's
is. I know it is.
wefoundabook.com.
I'm just saying. I'm expressing my excitement for this idea.
The names for the Twitter and Facebook, of course, are also We Found a Book because we're Prime. We got there first. We didn't have to make it something silly like We Found a Book podcast
Or we found a book. We didn't have to name it that.
yeah. Or We Found a Book _podcast. We didn't need that. We're
No, we
first.
did not.
We're firsties.
First is not the worst in this situation.
So if you want to tweet at us, we're pretty cool. We're tweet. We
awesome.
know the hashtags
We're awesome.
and the ats.
Yeah. And of course, we have to.
So
give
tweet at us at We Found a Book, all one word. Capitalize the words that should be capitalized. I think the letters.
the letters.
So yeah, I think that works. I don't know if capitalizations are important on Twitter. I
I don't think they are because it's all hashtagged.
But when I go on there,
tweets.
when I go on there, it's all capitalized. So
Is it?
maybe
Okay.
it's supposed
So,
to be.
all right. So just follow those instructions, and of course, we have to give a great shout out to our friends in the band Wacko
at
Fest.
Wacko Fest, who you may have heard their intro last episode
Mm-hmm.
and their outro as well, and it was not orientated very well because we wanted to keep in Ben's beautiful singing. I did actually when I put in the intro. I was like, this is staying, and that was pre-recorded, so we didn't really get a chance to thank them. But we like, that's a pretty cool intro if you ask me. I like it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I'm
would do
100%
things to
behind
it.
these guys and what they're doing and how they're helping us out, and we hope to help them out by giving a little bit of a plug here. But if
That's
you have
Wacko Fest. www.wackofest.com. WACKO Fest.com. And they're pretty cool. I like them. It's like kind of what would you describe their actual music? Because their intro is nothing like
their actual music is closer to like a bit of a garage band kind of sound to it. And
Yeah, it sounds like the iMac app Garage Band.
No, not where I was going with that. They sound like an indie rock band with
Alternative
rock band with some grunge not references, but
influences.
Thank you, Austin.
Yeah, they're a little grungy.
Yeah,
But grungy. They could go for a bubble bath. And hopefully, hey, maybe there's a special Halloween intro outro, and if they made us that by the time this goes on the old internet airwaves, then that would be pretty neat.
Believe me, you'll be the first to hear it, folks.
And so yeah, if you want to support them, check out that website. It would mean a lot to us and
a lot to them.
But and if you want to support us, you can just let us know you're out there in any way. Like use the Facebook, the Twitter. You can even we're on QE6. I know some of you are listening to us there, so
we greatly appreciate it.
There's a comment section there, but we are on iTunes if that's easier for you.
And please feel free to comment on iTunes.
Yeah,
it's definitely
leave a
how
rating.
we can. It's definitely a good way of how we can kind of gauge what kind of response we're getting. And
if it would be amazing if you show a friend and they like it.
Yeah.
Or that sounded only if they like it, that's cool that you did that for us. No. But if you show a friend, we really appreciate it. That's really cool. So thank you if you've done that or you will do that.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to do that, you think that's weird, hey, check out this podcast, then that's understandable. Leave a rating on iTunes, and that'll be a way that we're more easily discovered there. And that's kind of a way of digitally showing a friend. And hey, maybe you'll find a friend there, because I think it would be pretty cool to build a little community around this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for all those people looking for love out there, if you find your special someone listening to us, you're welcome. And please send us the details, because we.
And if there's any hotties, text Ben. I gave you his description. I know you want that.
Come see what all the fuss is about over here at. We found a book. What else? What else is there? Is there other things? That's really about all I wanted to cover.
We release a podcast the first of every month, so that's when you expect us.
So I actually found a story that I'm willing to read next time, or hopefully soon. We don't really know what the schedule is going to be like, but once I have the opportunity, I would love to share it with you. I was reading it. And
I'm excited. He won't let me read it.
No. We're going to keep on the idea of, kind of keeping our stories that we found on a hush-hush level.
More fresh, more organic.
Yeah, and it seems like
this book is vast and plentiful.
It seems like it's growing every day. But we really hope to kind of share this story with you and bring some life to what I've found from it, because from what I'm reading, I really do enjoy it, and I think you guys will too.
That's lovely.
As well as you, Austin.
Oh.
But yeah, until that point, I think we're going to sign off for now. So this has been
a podcast
hosted by yours truly, Ben, and my friend, Austin.
We found a book.
We did find that book.
One Halloween podcast.
2 hosts.
Hey, this holiday's over. Go out, do your jobs.
Get ready for that Thanksgiving toiki.
Goodbye.
Bye.